They go, well, how do you feel about that? He goes, I'm real happy for my father. And the interviewer goes, well, you don't appear to be very happy. Well, you want to know the truth? I don't really give a damn. I don't care. He's never cared about me. He's always been in his stuff, his trophy, his this, his that. He never even made me feel like I was part of the team, part of his family. And he's like raging and screaming and crying. His son hates him because he never made his son feel like he's part of his family, also known as his what? And he hates him. The interviewer is trying to, I can see in his brain, he's trying to figure out how am I going to pull this off into something positive, right? So he goes, well, is your relationship any better than it was? The guy goes, yeah, I guess so. He goes, well, what made it better? He goes, you really want to know? I'm thinking this interviewer's probably at this point thinking, no, I don't. You know? And he goes, well, yeah. He goes, I'll tell you what made it better, a little bit better. He said, funny, when I went to Vietnam, and this happened to me. And the whole image had been focused on his face, and the film and the camera starts to shoot down his body, panning down it. And when it gets to where his knees are supposed to be, there's nothing there. And this kid is like, got this crunched up face, you know. It doesn't bother me though. And he starts crying. He goes, why did my dad have to wait till I lost my legs to finally come and say he loved me? Why did he have to wait till I lost my legs to finally come and hold me? Why? Why did he have to wait till then? Why did I have to lose my legs to get him to do it? People do almost anything to be part of a team. People do almost anything to get your attention and find out if you care. If you don't give a child positive reinforcement for the good things they do, will they do bad things to grab your attention? To know that you care? Yes or no? Aren't adults just big children? See, sometimes there's been a lot of research done where sometimes people get ill just to get attention, to know that people care. In fact, think about it. In this culture, what is the most powerful way to know that everybody cares about you? Get sick. It's socially acceptable and gives you immediate attention. Isn't it? In fact, if you can not only get sick, but make it to the hospital, now you've really made it. If you make the hospital and get near death, now you've really made it, because everyone from all over the place who ever known you cared about you will come, show up, they'll send you flowers, they'll talk to you on the phone, they'll be there, they'll cry in front of you and tell you how much they love you. Do you think a person's unconscious mind that desperately wants love and team, you think it doesn't know that? Remember, the brain always moves away from pain and towards pleasure. Do you think being alone is more painful for some people than death itself? All depends on how they link things up, huh? I'm not saying people sabotage themselves physically, consciously, but can people do it unconsciously, yes or no? What do you think? Think it's possible? I would say yes. Some people get in car accidents, become part of a team. Some people, if you say, you're fired, you're off this team, they come back the next day with a shotgun and they murder every human being in sight in the post office they used to work at. As if to say, if I can't be on this team, then no one else can either. And then they kill themselves as well. Do you remember the story? Some people, if they no longer feel like they're part of the team, what they do is destroy the team they're not on. Like a guy who shows up at McDonald's in San Ysidro, California, and says, I'm going out hunting humans, because he no longer felt like he was part of that team. Interesting. People do almost anything to know you care. Anything. Will people steal to be part of a team? Will people smoke to be part of a team in the old days? Will people do drugs to be part of a team? Will people murder to be part of a team called a gang? People will do almost anything to be part of a team. And if you don't give people positive reinforcements, they will try and get your attention in a negative way. People do anything Don't let this be you or anybody you ever care about. And there is a simple solution. And the solution is this. Take care of your team up front. Let them know how much you care up front so they don't have to grab your attention in a negative way. Consciously and consistently let your team know how much you care. And you can continue to breathe again since most of you stopped for a little while there. Okay. How do you do that? How do you take care of your team? Well, let me give you 3 assignments that will be team building assignments for you for tonight that will make it enjoyable. Because if you take care of your team, there's no limit to the joy you can have. And if you don't, there's no limit to the pain you can have. 3 assignments. First, a question. How many of you have somebody in your life where you once had a relationship, either a business relationship or a personal relationship or a man-woman relationship, and that relationship ended on a negative note and you never talked again? How many of you got somebody like that in your life somewhere? Raise your hand nice and high so I can see. Okay, so about 90% of you. So here's your first assignment. If you have somebody like that in your life who you ended a relationship with in a negative note, I want you to call them tonight. You were to call them. This is a team building exercise. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to call them and say, "Hi, remember me? I certainly remember you." You're going to identify yourself. Number 1 is identify yourself. "Remember me? I certainly remember you." Number 2, you're to acknowledge how the relationship ended. Acknowledge the ending. So say, "I know the last time we talked was not very pleasant." So identify yourself and then acknowledge how the relationship ended. "I know the last time we talked was not real pleasant." Third step, acknowledge how much you care about them. Say, "But I wanted to call you just for one reason. I'm just calling to tell you one thing, that I have more positive memories of our relationship than I have negative. Hopefully a lot more, but whatever it is, I have more positive than negative. And I'm just calling to tell you one thing, that in spite of some of the challenges from my viewpoint, and I'm sure the challenges from your viewpoint, I just want you to know I really, really care about you and I enjoyed being part of your team." And say, you don't have to say anything. I'm not calling for you to respond unless you want to. All I'm calling to say is I really care about you and I hope your life is great. Thanks for letting me be part of your team. Bye. Click. What would that do to their brain? What would it do to your brain to make the call? Now, I don't want you to call expecting them to be real nice because they may not be nice. They may go, yeah, that's real nice, bye. Or they may be flat out harsh and go, get out of here, and hang up on you. But my experience is, I've had people do this for the last couple of years, my experience is those people that are real harsh many times will call you back a week later and say, I was a jerk. I realized you didn't have to call me up. You weren't getting anything for that. I just want to call you and apologize to you. The point is, it's not about what their response is, it's about you stretching yourself and being a team player, even if somebody else isn't. All those willing to do this, acknowledge yourself, identify yourself, acknowledge what happened in the past, and acknowledge how much you really care about the person. Say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Good, excellent. Here's your second call. Second call is different. How many of you have somebody in your life who you didn't end the relationship in a negative way, but what happened was, you got caught up in your life, they got caught up in their life, and you did kind of like the commercial said. You drifted away. You got so busy that the longer you didn't talk, the more weird it felt to talk. How many have had that happen with somebody in your life? Great, this is your second phone call tonight. You're to call this person up, and when you call them up, what I want you to do is say, hi, remember me? I certainly remember you, and I miss you. I've been so caught up in my life, and I know you've been probably caught up in yours, and I haven't talked in so long, it feels weird to even call. Just tell them the truth. And you may be busy right now, and that's okay. I just want to call you for 1 minute to tell you only one thing. I'm calling to tell you how much I really care about you, and that I'm thinking of you. And that even though maybe we don't talk all the time, you're always on my team, and I'm always on yours. And I really care about you a lot. And make that connection. And by the way, that connection may open up a whole lot for you, who knows? You may have been missing out on a lot by not being connected with somebody you care about. Third assignment. I want you to make a list tonight of all your key teammates. All the people you would consider to be team. Your very close family and very close friends. All the way out to whoever else you consider a close team. Maybe certain business associates, friends from the past, whatever the case may be. But make a list of your key team members. And next to each name, I want you to come up with a creative way to let them know you really care. Some creative way that in the next 12 months, you're going to let them know you really care. Maybe it's something you say, maybe it's something you do, maybe it's a gift you try and give them, maybe it's a gift of an offer of an idea. I don't know what it is, but something creative that lets them know you really care. And get really creative, that's half the fun. For example, how many of you, for example, have children on your team? That is, you have your own children. Let me see your hands. How many have teenage children? I'm curious. Quite a few of you. I've got 4 kids, and I've got them in every stage of development. I have a 4-year-old boy, I have a 10-year-old boy, I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I have a 20-year-old boy. I started when I was 6. No, 3 of the children my wife had before she met me. Now what was interesting is, here are these kids, right? And I want to be close to them. And as I got to know them, I really began to love them, but I'm this stranger thrown into their life. How do you let them know you really care, especially when you live on a schedule like I do, traveling all over the place as well, and have them really love you and be loved by them and have that connection? Well, the only way you can do it is with strategy. Specifically for me, I had to remember that I had 5 fathers in my life. And out of those 5 fathers, all of them were great, but one really affected my life, and he's the one I spent the least amount of time with. But I tell you what I shared with him. Moments. I believe that life comes down to nothing but a series of moments. That if he was coming to the end of your life, what you're going to remember is not every single detail, but you'll remember certain moments that stand out in your mind. And I have moments with that father of mine that I will never forget. Moments that just affected how I felt about myself and him and life. And so what I try and do is create moments, and maybe that's what you can do with the people you care about, create some moments. But you know what? You got to create different kinds of moments for different kinds of people, don't you? Especially kids. My youngest boy's name is Jarek. And Jarek's 4 years old. So what do you do with Jarek? You don't do the same things you do with my 14-year-old daughter. What do I do with Jarek? Well, Jarek likes to do crazy things. He likes to go out in a big field that's dirty. There's no grass, just dirt and rocks. And he likes to go out there and play all these games where we make up stuff. And we run around like a bunch of crazies and do nothing. And so you know what I do with Jarek? I take a day, and that's all we do for the day. I become a kid again, and we run around and get dirty and make mud pies and make weird stories and stuff. I remember when we did one of those days recently, and I decided I want to take them to the toy store. Now, I like kids to earn things, but I also like to surprise them every now and then. I mean, that's part of the benefit of doing well. So I said, let's go to the toy store. I want to surprise you. Anything you want in the toy store, anything at all. So we go to the toy store, and we're looking at everything. We play with every little gadget. We're there for 2 hours, right? Any of you seen the movie Big? That's me and my boy in the toy store. Right? We're running around doing all this crazy stuff, right? And so he's got his choice of anything he wants. There is no limit to what he can have in the toy store. I said, so what do you want? Guess what he gets? A plastic rake. A rake? Don't you want this toy over here? Some toys I wanted, right? Don't you want this toy over here? No, I want this rake, Dad. I want us to go out and rake together. So we go out, and we spend 2 hours out in the yard raking. Him with his plastic rake, me with his big rake, and we rake. We laugh and we giggle and we play and we rake. And you know what? He and I will probably never forget that. I know I will never forget it. And we have this moment where I'm sure he'll remember his whole life. Dad and me out there in the sunshine raking together, playing and giggling and laughing. It's one of those moments. Now, my son Joshua, he's 10 years old. You don't go out and rake with Joshua. Joshua's getting into football and, all these different things and make things happen and, developing his identity, right? And so with Joshua, it's different. I fly in from out of the city, and all of a sudden I show up at 12 noon at his lunch hour. And I check him out of school, and he goes, what's the matter? What's going on? And I said, what do you mean what's going on? He said, well, why am I getting out of school? I said, it's simple. It's Joshua's day. He says, what? I said, it's your day. I've been out of town. I have not had a chance to be with you, and I want to be just with you, just you and I. So I'm taking you out of school so you and I can just go spend time together and go play. We can do anything we want. He goes, really? I said, yeah. I said, what would you like to do if we could do anything? He goes, well, could we go to the zoo? I said, that'd be great. Let's do it. He said, well, could we go to SeaWorld? Because he loves the whales. I said, sure. He said, well, could we go miniature golfing? I said, sure. What do you want to do? He said, all 3. I said, all 3? But hey, there's always a way, right? So the next thing you know, we're at the zoo or miniature golfing or all these things, and we're laughing and we're talking and we're playing, and we have a day that most people don't have in a month. And we have a memory we won't forget. Doesn't take much. Maybe next time you got an anniversary coming, instead of waiting until the last minute and going, oh God, tomorrow's my anniversary, better make it over to Skaggs drugstore to get a gift. maybe instead of doing that, maybe you could think in advance and create a moment this person will never, ever forget. Think. Be creative. And what if just for fun you create an incredible moment, but you act like you forgot just to create some interesting states? So maybe you wake up that morning and your husband or wife turns to you and says, "Good morning." You go, "Oh, good morning. You know what today is, don't you?" And you go, "Columbus Day?" You go, "No, silly, it's our anniversary." "Oh, yeah. Well, I guess that means we should probably go to dinner, huh?" "Well, it would be nice." "All right, well, why don't you make some reservations at some place and we'll just go. I got to go to the office and I'll be back around 5. "Well, I don't want to put you out." "Well, it's not putting me out. I have to work, that's all." So you go to the office. 5 o'clock comes by, you don't show up. Just to like stir things up a little more. What happens? You show up about, 5:30 or so, right? And there's like a certain level of energy in the room. "You said 5 o'clock, it's anniversary, don't you even care?" No. You go, "Of course I care. I mean, hey, I was busy." "Busy? Isn't this a priority?" "Well, of course." "Oh, come on, just relax. We're only a half hour late. We'll just go." So then what do? You take the coast route. And you drive right along the coast there. And as you do, all of a sudden you pull over. And you go, "You know what? We're late anyway. It's our anniversary. Look at this incredible sunset. Why don't we take a walk on the beach?" "Well, could we?" "Yeah." "Okay." So you take off your shoes and socks and you hold hands and you go out and you walk across this beach. And you're walking right at the edge of the waves and the sky is just like the most incredible painting you've ever seen. It's like these oranges and burnt reds and mauves and it's absolutely spectacular. And you smell the ocean air and you hear the sounds of all the birds going by. And you feel your feet like stepping down into the real cool water mud, as you go through it, holding hands. And as you're walking, you go by this little cliff area, and all of a sudden your spouse says, "Listen, listen." And you go, "What?" She goes, "I hear drums." And you go, "Drums? No, you must be mistaken." "No, listen, really, listen. In fact, they're African drums." And it just so happens that your spouse's favorite sound in the world that drives them crazy is African drums. And you go, "By George, it does sound like drums." And so sure enough, you say, "Where are they?" And she's, up there. And you go, "Well, let's go check it out." She goes, "There's some people up there." Well, obviously, who would be playing the drums except people? "Oh, we can't go." "Oh, come on. You have tease, half control, half drag your spouse, and you go up the side of the cliff, up, and you find these little niches in the cliff, and you get all the way up there, and just as you're climbing, and all of a sudden you're going to get out on the edge of this little cliff where there's this area that's overlooking the sunset and the water and everything else. You're climbing, and it's up here, and the sounds are getting louder and louder and louder. You get right about here, and you can see these 2 giant feet. And you hear the drums getting louder and louder and louder. And just as you get up there, all of a sudden you see this tall, dark black man standing there. And he's beating on this drum, and he's the greatest African drummer in the world that flew in from New York for some reason. And he's standing on this cliff beating on this drum, and next to him is standing a man in a tuxedo. And next to both of them is this incredible table that has been hoisted on the cliff up on top with china and a meal and candles. And the man beating the drum says, "Dance to the beat of my drum, Becky." And you go, "I remembered." Now, I'm not going to tell you about the end of that evening, but you can imagine that what you put out comes back. Somehow it was more powerful than Skaggs drugstore, See, it just takes a little creativity. You go, "Yeah, but I couldn't pay to hoist some stuff on the cliff and all that kind of stuff." Hey, I got some high school kids to do it. Think about it. Or do you have to do that? How much does it cost? Pick up the phone in the middle of the day and call somebody you love for no reason and just say, "I only have 60 seconds. I'm calling for only one reason. To tell you I'm thinking of you and I love you. I'll see you tonight. Bye." How much? Because you're at the office, probably cost you nothing. 1 minute. 1 minute. But what's the impact of that 1 minute on their day? What if on the way home, for no particular reason, you went and just stopped and got a card and wrote something special? Cost you $1.50, $2.50? But what's the impact when they get the card for no reason, except that you care? See, little things make the big difference in life. But you know what the problem is? Most people don't look at the little things. Most people in life major in minor things. Like how to pay the bills. How am I going to get by? I'll tell you one thing. You want to know the biggest major of your life? You better major in team if you want to be happy. Major in taking care of your team, and you'll never, ever have to worry about wealth or happiness because you'll have more of it than most people could ever dream of in their lifetimes. And if you don't take care of a team, everything else I could teach you was worthless. That's why I spent so much time on this issue. And you and I can name all kinds of people that haven't taken care of their team. And if you haven't in the past does not equal the future, does it? It's time now to take care of them on a deeper level. And by taking care of your team, you take better care of yourself. Write down 2 more commitments about team, and we're out of here. Very quickly, write down, take care of the team inside of you. Take care of the team inside of you. You know what I got by watching that film? I watched that film, and I watched guy after guy after guy totally upset with his life now, even though he was successful. And you know what I thought? I thought, here all these people are. The guy is a multimillionaire, travels around the world, totally successful. And quickly, write down, take care of the team inside of you. Take care of the team inside of you. You know what I got by watching that film? I watched that film, and I watched guy after guy after guy totally upset with his life now, even though he was successful. And you know what I thought? I thought, here all these people are. The guy is a multimillionaire, travels around the world, totally successful, and he's unhappy. Here's this other guy, he's the head of the bank, and he's unhappy. He has everything in the world to be happy for, but he's not getting the happiness that's right there in front of him. And when the film stopped, I thought, that is so incredible. It was so contrasting because they had this other guy on there. His name was Roy Campanelli. Remember him? Now, of all the players who should be unhappy today, how many would agree he should be the one who have a right to be unhappy? If you don't know Roy Campanelli, he's one of the greatest catchers in the history of baseball. Absolutely incredible. Also one of the most fun, loving team players you ever meet. Total giver. And one day, he made a 12-inch distinction incorrectly. And he smacked himself into a snowbank and became a quadriplegic overnight. Like that, in a heartbeat. At the peak of his career, I mean, here's the guy who played baseball, that one day he was so good, one day his clothing got lost on the train, and he was playing on the field, this one baseball field, and on the field there, they had this sign that said, hit this sign, it was an advertisement, hit the sign, win a free suit. He ended up hitting a home run. So he hit the sign 3 times that day, got himself 3 suits, and he told people in advance he needed 3 suits. We're talking about a fairly powerful guy. Right? 6'2", powerful man whose whole life, everything that he had in life that he valued came from his ability to manipulate his body. And in a heartbeat, it was gone. Think about it. Now, he's been in a wheelchair ever since that time. And yet, when you meet him, he's one of the most incredible people you ever meet in your life. I mean, he is pure light. Pure light. Anybody gets around him feels happier. And I met him when I was at Dodger camp, after I saw this film, and it really moved me. And I went to him and I said, Roy, I said, could I chat with you a bit? And he said, sure. And I told him about modeling and what I do, and I said, you know, you've been through this incredible hell, and yet you're so happy. And if I could find out like what you believed and how you did things, I could help other people to apply what you've learned to make their life better. Would you willing to spend some time with me? And he said, no problem. I said, well, if it doesn't hurt too much, can you tell me what happened? He said, well, he said, after the accident, I woke up one day, and I woke up and I tried to move my right arm. And he said, nothing happened. He said, so I tried to move my right hand, my fingers. And he said, nothing happened. So I tried to move my left arm and nothing happened. Then I tried to move my right leg and nothing happened. He said, so I tried to move my left leg and nothing happened. He said, finally, I said to myself, Campy, you hurt bad. I said, so what did you do? He said, well, what can you do? He said, I just started working on getting better. I said, why? Why didn't you just give up? He said, well, you just can't give up. I said, why didn't you give up? He said, because if I were to give up, I'd just die. And if I died, who would take care of my family? I had to get better. I had to get better for my family. I didn't want to get better, but I had to. Why did he have to get better? Because he had to take care of his what? Remember, people will do more for others than they'll even do for themselves. He said, finally, I said, Lord, listen, if nothing else, get me to a wheelchair. Get me to a wheelchair so I can give to my family. He said, I prayed that every day, and finally he got me to a wheelchair. You know what I thought? What if we would have said, Lord, let me walk? Ask and you shall receive. He got the wheelchair. But you know what? He now works with a team, the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's a team member. Anywhere he goes, people gravitate because he's such a giver, and he's so happy. When the film ended, the film ends with two people's faces. It shows Campanella going, life is so good. And the other guy going, it doesn't bother me. And total hate and anger. And then it fades to black. It doesn't actually end that way, but I thought it was more dramatic. When it was over, I started crying like a little baby. And one of my friends was there with me. He came up to me and said, Tony, you want to talk? And I said, no, I think I need to take a walk. So I took this walk across these fields where legends have played for literally almost 100 years. And there was a full moon out, and it was a totally still night. And I thought to myself, I'm crying like uncontrollably. And I thought, at first I thought I was crying because of the film. But then I thought, why am I hurting so bad inside? It's just a movie. And I realized the reason I was crying is I felt this incredible sadness because I realized that I had become like some of those players. That I was giving and being a great person supposedly, but I was not feeling the joy. And in order to make it through it all, I had disassociated. And I was like, you need help? Come here. Next. Next. But I wasn't getting the juice. I was like these guys that are so successful, but not feeling the success. And I thought, I don't want to be like them 20 years from now going, God, weren't those the good old days? I want the juice right now. I don't want to have my life just be where I give and don't receive. I got to make sure I feel the joy and I take care of me too. And I thought, what can I do to turn my life around so that I feel more of the juice? I don't just help people, but I feel it. And I thought for a while, and I thought the answer is I need to make sure that whenever I meet people, I really associate to knowing whoever they are, that they're part of my team. I need to get the feeling of connection with everybody I meet, not just in the seminar, not just when I'm changing, but all the time. I got to strive to have that connection even with strangers. And I thought, if I were to really do that, if I were to make sure that every time I meet somebody, I strive as much as possible that when I meet people to feel connected to them, to make them feel connected to me, to somehow enhance their life, somehow leave them in a place that's better than when I found them. Even if it's just slightly better. If I strive to do that, will that change my life? And my brain went, that's the answer. I thought, okay, if that's what I'm going to do to increase the quality of my whole life, is I'm going to take care of me so I can take care of other people, and I'm going to start feeling more connected to everyone, purposely. How can I do it? I thought, well, when I go into a bellman, I see bellman about every 2 or 3 days. I travel constantly. Instead of just having him bring my bags in, give him a nice tip and say, thanks, what if I just take an extra moment and connect with him? When he comes and takes my bags, I go, hey, I got a lot of stuff. Thank you very much. Here. And just take that extra moment. Somebody comes asking me a question, instead of going, stop just for a second and look at them and connect with them just for that extra second so they know I hear them. So if somebody says, God, thank you so much, I used to go, thanks, thank you. Because I was afraid to feel. Somebody says, thank you so much. I'll say, thank you. Just take a little extra second so they know I feel it and I appreciate it. And I thought, if that's really what I'm supposed to do to take my life to the next level, then the wind will blow. I was getting inspired. It had been a totally still night. And about 15 seconds later, guess what? The wind began to blow, and I thought, well, that's kind of a nice coincidence. I like that. That's kind of neat. My brain must have noticed a cloud way in the distance moving this way somehow, somewhere. There's some explanation, of course. And then it got still again. I thought, God, this could really change my life if I just commit to feeling more and being more connected to everyone I meet. I thought, okay, it's still again. If this is really what I'm supposed to do to take my life to the next level, then the wind will blow again. And sure enough, about 5 seconds later, guess what? The wind blew again. Now, I don't know if that means anything, but I'm going to pretend that it does. And I'll tell you what I learned to do. I learned to take care of me and feel more connected with people as well. And it's still something I work on. But the reason I say that is, can you give to somebody else if you don't feel the connection? Can you really give 100%? If you don't take care of you, you got nothing to give other people. So the challenge in life, as far as I'm concerned, is for you to figure out what are the areas of your life where you're not giving to you. See, you may be a real powerful businessman, and so you're going for business, but maybe there's a part of your life that you've made wrong, but there's a part of you that wants something like to dance or to sing. You go, that's stupid, I got to be a businessman. Or to make money. Maybe part of you thinks you'd love to make money, but another part of you goes, no, I shouldn't do that. Until you start taking care of you, you will never be able to give all the other things you want to give. So here's my assignment to you. I want you to find an area of your life that you're not giving to yourself. And in the next 4 weeks, I want you to commit 1 evening a week to giving to yourself in some unique way. For example, maybe a part of you would love to dance or sing, but you think, oh, I'm not a good dancer, or that's dumb, I need to do business. I want you to take 1 evening a week for 4 weeks at least and take a dance class. Because you know what's going to happen? That little thing of giving yourself the dance class, as dumb as it sounds, what will happen is you'll be more congruent, because instead of having a part of you feeling left out inside of you, you will feel more fulfilled. When you feel more fulfilled, your business will be stronger as well. Maybe it's letting you spend some money on yourself, because you've never done that, because that would be terrible. I used to feel that way. I don't want to spend any money on me, so I do that, boy, then you'd be selfish. You know what I found out? It didn't make me selfish. What it made me feel is incredibly appreciative and want to give even more. You know, I took helicopter lessons. I now fly helicopters, jet helicopters. It's one of my favorite things. I had no time to do that. Where was I going to fit that in my schedule? But I flew once in a helicopter and had the experience of being able to lift off at any pace I want, go any direction, forwards, backwards, sideways, anywhere I want, strafe the water at 5-10 feet above it, go up with Becky and land up on a mountain, get out and have a picnic, go anywhere I want as fast as I can think it. I mean, it was incredible. So as soon as I had that, I thought, I have got to have this experience. I don't have the time to do it, but I made time to do it. And you know what it did? It transformed me. Because see, to fly a helicopter, you have to do some unique things. It's unlike an airplane or a car. If you want to turn an airplane or a car, you turn strong, don't you? If you do that in a helicopter, you have this one little stick. If you turn a helicopter like this, you turn it all the way over. To make a movement from here to this angle in a helicopter, from here to here, is a movement like this, from here to about there. In fact, I'm trying to make it happen, which doesn't work. You have to just feel it. There you go, like that. That's how much to go from here to here. It's more of a thought process. If you actually do it, if you like took the thing went like this, you'd be upside down, twisting out of control, crash. And you know what it did? Not only did I have total pleasure, but I had to have a new experience that I never anticipated. I learned how to be absolutely passionate, excited, and yet be calm simultaneously, which was a whole new experience. And it changed my life because it taught me how to be calm while I was in ecstasy, while I was also dealing with intense experiences. And it affected my business. You need to give to yourself. All those who want to come up with something that you'll do for 4 weeks, say, I. Lastly, write down your notes of this. Write down, join a team that will challenge you. Join a team that will challenge you. Part of your commitment, commit to joining a team that will challenge you. A lot of people think friends are people who just accept you as you are and everything. I disagree. I think friends are people who love you no matter what, but they don't accept you as you are. I think friends are people who care enough about you that they demand you be your best. Friends are the kind of people that see when you're not living who you really are, and they come along and they go, you know I love you, and so I got to tell you this. I'm not going to let you off the hook. You need to go for this 100%. Because I care, I'm not going to let you off the hook. Get your butt in gear and go for it. That's a friend. A friend is not somebody who says, it's okay, you don't have to do anything. That's not a friend. It's a lot harder to tell somebody, hey, I'm going to kick your butt because I care about you, than it is to go, well, just, it's okay. That's easy. That's not a friend. So I suggest to you, you get yourself around a group of people who care so much about you, they will not let you settle for less than you can be. People will demand the most from you. Because if you're around people who demand the most from you, that means you're always going to be growing. If you're always going to be growing, you're going to have ultimate levels of self-esteem, happiness, and wealth. But that's what you need. I think it was Bill Marriott, the man who created the Marriott hotels. In his autobiography, he had a little poem. He said he based his whole life on it. It was a real simple poem. He said, good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger the wind, the stronger the trees. See, if you think that someone taking care of you is going to make your life better, you're wrong. Your caretaker will become your jailer. We all want somebody who cares about us, but you want to make sure that somebody there cares enough that they'll also challenge you to be who you can be. if you will live by these 7 disciplines, if you will operate from personal power where there are no failures, only results, that as long as you learn something, you haven't failed. Therefore, you're willing to commit 100% of yourself to go for it. If you're willing to take full responsibility for what's happening, and by responsibility, knowing that that means if you don't like it, you can change it. Since you're responsible, you can change it. You're empowered. If you're willing to stretch yourself, wherever you go, God, I can't do this, then you demand that you must. If you put yourself in a position where you trust your unconscious mind, just like driving down that road with the yellow line, if you're willing to use trust, if you're willing to put yourself on the line where you really have compassion for people, even when it's not easy, if you're willing to demand from yourself a level of energy that most people would never dream of, if you're willing to be a team player and practice, take care of your team, take care of the team inside of you, and join a team that'll challenge you, if you'll do these simple 7 little perceptual shifts, as little and tiny as they sound, as simplistic as they sound, if you'll do these 7, the dreams you have right now of what you think you'd love to have your life be like, those dreams will seem like cartoons in contrast to the life you will create.